Well, good morning to our viewers today. Welcome to Keeping It Real with Marie and Lionel this morning. We hope that you had an enjoyable weekend, and we're also celebrating Whitsuntide weekend. Today is our public holiday. So, Lionel, what say you? How was your weekend?
Oh, well, my weekend was enjoyable. A bit of tennis. We were able to get in a game. That's
Oh,
of exercise.
yes.
And I'm just enjoying the beautiful sunshine and view. There's some haze, there's still some ashes that is blown around in the sky. We're still being affected in some way. But the
Mm-hmm.
weekend was pretty good. I was thankful.
Okay, lovely, lovely. And of course, we have a special guest with us this morning, Dr. Donna Hunt Cox. She will be with us this morning. We're happy to have her join us on a public holiday. It's also another special day as well. Um, One of the things we have to highlight this morning was the fact that we are actually looking at a year of George Floyd's murder. Today's the 25th, sorry, the 24th of May. And I think tomorrow actually marks his year. And it was very controversial, and it has affected the world because when that
Yes.
happened, it really brought about a lot. And you saw more of Black Lives Matter coming forward. So,
Well, one of the things, Mari, that his daughter mentioned, his young daughter, this was in the video on the news, and he had her
mhm,
on his shoulder and holding her arms and everything. She said, "Daddy changed the world,"
yes,
and that is a profound statement coming from a child. But the Bible said that a child shall lead them, and he has in more ways than one. And I'm happy to see that worldwide um, that change is taking place. We have
yes,
come a long way and still a
definitely.
lot further to go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We have a lot of work. That's a
A lot of
definite statement. A lot more work to deal with.
that he
So
has changed the world.
yeah, we have to say as well that the officer Chauvin was charged. We have to wait now to see on three counts. We have to wait now and see what his time spent would be in jail. And I've learned that with the legal system, even though he would be in jail now and the countdown starts, it might be minimized. Um, a lot of folks are looking at this as an accomplishment, but I think we have so much further to go. We also
Hmm.
have to wait on the other three, and then there's the other case with the young man who was shot on the 20th. He was 20 years old, sorry, and
Yeah.
there's so much. There's a lot to contend with. And talking about shooting, sadly, we have to say that the young man, the young officer who was shot doing his duty, I think he was an off-duty officer as well. Um,
And they're never off
I,
duty, although they're never off duty. But yes, go ahead.
yeah, well, that is true,
Yeah,
because
never.
once you become an officer of the law, your heart is set in protecting your community, and he
Correct.
was there to serve. And it's sad to say that, from all words, he was called out, and he was just doing his part in trying to help. I am very sad to see that we, I don't know, I'm so lost for words for that particular case. We're really trying to move forward in this society to talk about guns. Uh, How can these individuals have such items in their possession? How do they get them? Uh, what causes them to react and act in those ways?
Well, a lot has to do with ports of entry. A lot has to do with whether they're coming in via the sea, via air. Um, so there's a lot going on where the guns are concerned. I listened to news this morning and was sharing that the Attorney General was speaking about the installation of the scanner.
Mm-hmm,
Yes,
mm-hmm.
that would have improve and detected any firearms or contraband coming in, etc., etc. But we
Hmm.
also the guns were here from before. That's been going on for years. So
You're
um,
talking about play guns or real guns? Which one?
these are real guns because they're taking lives. They're taking young Barbadian lives. So these are real guns.
Yeah.
Maybe government needs to look at another amnesty.
Hmm.
Um, they have to. I think the entire society, Barbadian society, need maybe make some suggestions because no man is an island, and
Uh-huh.
um, everybody has to play their part. So if something has been heard, pass on the information to the police. You can call anonymously. You can
Hmm.
provide the
Hmm.
information not anonymously and
Hmm.
pass on the information so that the police will do their work. But we have seen how throughout the world and especially United States how guns have been taking people's lives, and in Jamaica, hitting home in the Caribbean.
Hmm.
So at one stage, Barbados was never like like this. And
No.
I think a serious effort has to be taken where guns are concerned, and there should be a no tolerance
Yeah.
level as it relates to guns. Yes, the laws have stepped up. There's more jail time. There's a higher fine. Um, Sometimes lawmen, police either recover the firearm or sometimes they don't. But a serious strategy has to be put in place in this island where guns are concerned to get them out of the hands of criminals and to stop this mayhem. It is very difficult for a law-abiding citizen who
Hmm.
wants to have a firearm in terms of registering and so forth. It's
For
very difficult
protection. Yeah, for
for
your
his
own protection.
for
His
protection.
or
It's
her
family
own.
protection,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's so easy for the criminal element to acquire these guns. So a serious and this has nothing to do with the young police officer that got murdered.
No.
This has to do with a lot of young individuals and Barbadian whose life were snuffed out, to use that
Yeah.
terminology.
Yeah.
So something seriously has to be done.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So we're
And
calling all social groups, all citizens, and
yes.
to play their
Yes.
part.
And you know, if you know that the individual or individuals have committed such a heinous crime, say something.
Yeah,
We want it would put the family at ease. Say something because something like this you wouldn't want to happen to your own relative,
yeah.
because it
Mhm.
says a lot to the individual. It speaks loudly of the person's character, and we want people to realize that Barbadians are humble individuals.
Correct.
Humble meaning that we our stature is set on a Christ-like attitude. Jesus was a humble man.
Yes.
He was a humble man. He took a lot for us. I'm not getting religious. I'm just saying that that's the type of character Barbados really
Yeah.
has. As a people, we really need to improve ourselves. And
Yeah.
if we have to improve
Mhm.
ourselves, we have to look at, you know, inward in perfecting ourselves to be better citizens. So
Correct.
come forward and say something.
Mhm.
It
No,
makes it much
no.
easier.
Mary, we have to look at the home environment. We have to look at the areas that throughout Barbados that have some issues that might be in terms of depressed. We have
Mm-hmm,
to
mm-hmm,
see when I say we're talking about we, the government,
mm-hmm.
um, have to implement additional programs that would help get some of these youth off the block. We all line on the block. I line in front of K. Shepherd
Me
years ago.
too.
I line in front of
Me too.
Barclays Bank. I line at street corners, but it was never that lineman with your neighbors and so forth,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
to steal, to rob, to create mayhem. Yeah, we would steal some mangoes and some akis and some limes and stuff like that, you know.
Ah,
Um, but
oh
it
my
was never like
God.
we were going out there to look to rob someone, to take someone's life. It's never like that. So in terms of the home environment, uh,
Mm-hmm.
a lot has to do with that. And there are a lot of single parents out there who sometimes don't know what their children are doing. I mean,
That's right.
my mom would never have known, or my father would never have known that I went and steal Miss Hickson limes. All right, but as a boy, we do these things. But
Oh,
nevertheless,
oh my goodness.
when it comes to the home environment, and sometimes these persons go back home with the loot. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the old Bajan cultural way was
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you cannot bring anything from school in
Mm-hmm.
your bag, because your bag would have been searched on mornings, your bag would have been searched on evenings, right?
Yes.
Have
Uh-huh.
anything in there that you didn't leave with, and even if you
Uh-huh.
have something in there, your parents are gonna ask you who this. You're gonna be on the jury stand. You're gonna be questioned, interrogated, and you're going to say, look, do not bring anything in here that does not belong to here. Give it back to the individual. And Lord help us find out if you stole it, because you're going to get lashes either from both parents or one.
Mm-hmm.
Furthermore, you might
I think
be
you will get
reported
lashes. I think you will be getting lashes from the top of the gap to the end. So
to the
don't
end. And
don't blame
and
the
then
finish.
the words of stop crying in here. What you crying for? You want something to crying for? And still getting lashes, you know. So
Oh my God. I
you
know, I know, I know. They,
nowadays it seems to be different, that things
yeah,
can be at home, no questions asked.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have to look at that. And the Attorney General, he's making his mark as well. He's asking or calling on Barbadians just to join this fight against gun crime in Barbados. And it I don't know, it really, I think Barbados needs prayer. I Because the society we live in, as you said, we
Mhm.
never came up with that. You might get a one-off story, a husband killed his wife or something way back, but you wouldn't get all this gun slinging going on on the island. But let's move forward from that, because that's we don't want to sadden our viewers on that, because we know a lot of our viewers from overseas have been following the news, and
Yeah.
to hear this happening in Barbados for them, it's same way. But I left Barbados in such a good state. You mean this is what's going on? It, what's really happening home? You know,
Yeah, changing times.
changing
Changing.
times, changing times. And we also have the topic where we probably would have to have somebody come on to talk about this, where
Mhm.
the Republican Status Transition Advisory Committee has been established, which means that we are going forward by November of this year in becoming a republic. How do you stand on that?
Um, you know, uh, how should I put
Words.
this? Yeah, yeah. I feel like I'm lost for words. I feel like I'm lost for words. But
Words.
nothing wrong with us becoming a republic.
Hmm.
I think we have been able to manage ourselves and steer our ship through perilous waters, and we have done exceptionally well under the various administrations that have led Barbados to this day.
Hmm. Hmm.
At the end of the day, we have our people to rely on, because we don't have bauxite, we don't have gold, we don't have oil. Well, we have oil, but not like Trinidad and so forth.
Hmm.
Um, our identity of who we are is most important under a republic.
Okay.
I still believe that relationships with England still
Hmm.
needs to be maintained.
Hmm. Hmm.
We're a small island state. We can be run over by, in Belgian parlance, a big McGuffey.
Mm.
Um, so those ties with England in terms of uh, assistance in whatever form still needs to be maintained, which will happen. But that identity of who we are as Barbadians
Hmm.
under a republic needs to be fully established, because these are changing times, and we don't want a situation where we have lost who we are. Because when you have lost who you are, then you wander in the desert or wilderness. So
Mhm.
who
Mhm.
we are as a base, and I'm very sure that was a slogan that the current administration have told, and I think maybe there's a song about it as well. But who we are in terms of how we go forward under this republic is going to be very, very, very important. And we have I said we rely on our people because they're the ones who do the studying, you know. But the culture aspect of it is going to be very important in terms of going forward, and
Mhm.
use the brains that are here in order to propel this country forward. And
Mhm.
I think that we would do well. One
Well,
thing for sure, I will make this fundamental point: we must never become a dictatorship or
heaven
a,
forbid.
a country that there's one party rule that have occurred throughout some of the Caribbean and Latin American countries. I think that that would be disastrous for us as a country and as a people.
Mhm. Yes,
Yeah.
I totally agree. I totally agree on that. Well, without further ado, having our special guest, Dr. Donna Hunt Cox. I was thinking last night, she's so special. She's very, very special to us. And I would say that when you think of it and growing up with her, um, face to face and from afar, I really admire her journey. And I'm so excited this morning to have her with us. So, for those persons who are wondering, who is Dr. Donna Hunt Cox? Really and truly, the title that befits her is Dr. the Honorable Dr. Hunt Cox. She was
Oh,
the Consul General of New York, and she hails from the parish of St. Andrew. She's actually the eldest of five children. She received her education at the Wesley Hall Infant School, Grace Hill Primary School, and St. Andrew's Girls' School in Belle Plaine, St. Andrew. So,
mhm.
Lionel, as we would say, she's a country girl like you.
Yes, yes, she is. Well, a country boy. She's a girl. I'm a boy.
So true.
Yes,
And
yes,
she
yes.
she received
Mhm.
her education at the Allen School, and of course, upon leaving school, she pursued her training education at the Eardiston Teachers Training College, where she received her certificate in education. And she later went on to receive her certificate in education, the teaching of reading from the University of the West Indies in Mona, Jamaica. She also has a love for arts, and I think she will allude a little bit on that for us. So we want to do two things. We want to welcome her this morning, and we also want to wish her a blessed and a happy, happy, happy birthday. So let us welcome Dr. Hunt Cox with us this morning.
Well, lovely
Welcome.
Good
lady.
morning.
Oh, look at her. Isn't she gorgeous? Oh,
Yes.
she gives me
And
goosebumps.
the African wear and the green, that mint green. Oh man. Oh, fit for a queen. Fit for a queen.
Thank
Yes,
you.
she is
Beijing queen.
absolutely gorgeous. So
Yes.
let us wish her happy birthday. We have our toast with us this morning. We want to toast to you and God's blessings to you. And we pray that you continue to have many more. And you're allowed to drink during the show. So happy birthday,
Happy
Dr.
birthday.
Donna Hunt Cox. I will send you the
Thank,
cake after.
Yeah.
thank
Cheers.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We hope you had a lovely weekend as well. I know this starts a good week for you. What are your plans this morning and for the rest of the day for your birthday?
Well, I started my birthday yesterday. My daughter made a wonderful lunch yesterday. Totally
Oh,
Wow.
enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And of course, the makeup, compliments of my daughter Saran. She wanted
Ah,
to make sure that I look presentable for
aye,
this
aye.
program.
Oh,
So,
nice. Nice.
wonderful. So you already started with a bang.
Yes, yes, I did. I did. Thank you.
Well, compliments to her.
Yes,
Thank
she did a
you.
wonderful job. And the African wear, she started before the 25th because I think tomorrow they have a special program on for African awareness. That's being put on tomorrow in the afternoon, I think. It was advertised. I don't know if Lionel saw it. So I saw that during, the news and the clipping of it. So she's going to make a mark for herself already for the week with that outfit. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Well, I said is who we are under Republic. So she started.
Oh,
You must you must have that African connection. There's
oh,
no debate about
definitely.
it. Yes.
Definitely. One thing that we want to include um, Dr. Donna with us this morning, we were speaking about becoming a republic. What's your view on that? Because we're going to touch on something that is your heart, culture. So tell us what you think about this change, this move that we'll be undertaking.
I think that it really makes us independent totally.
Hmm.
It would highlight the achievements of our people.
Hmm.
So therefore, we have then take ownership of,
Hmm.
as Lina said, who we are and where we're going.
Hmm.
So I agree with it. I support it.
Hmm.
I I also support the fact that we became an independent nation several years ago, but we still
Hmm.
had the connection with the British Empire.
Mhm.
So going republic will show that we've come of age and we can really take charge of our own destiny, more or less.
Yes, yes. So
Agreed.
we agree with that because it then, well, I hope it helps the younger generation to realize how far we truly have come because some of them might be a little swayed away from what Barbados is really about in terms of progress. Some of them may not understand the need for separation. Um, some are saying, well, for example, one of the items that was done was the removal of Lord Nelson. And some people are saying that's an expense. Why remove him? He was there all these years. We passing him. Um, when people look at that, some people state, quote unquote, but that's part of our history. Why remove it from the history books? What do you think on something like that when people were against it? Because you had the forwards and you had the against. So, what would have been your take on that as a move forward to becoming a republic?
Well, symbols such as Lord Nelson, it has significance, but it also connects us with our past. We as Barbadians have been trying to get as far away from the past of dominance and the slavery, etc. So that
Mm-hmm.
was a constant reminder. So
Mm-hmm.
removing it, I support, but I still think that it's part of our history. So therefore, it must not be totally thrown out. I think that
Mm-hmm.
it should have a place somewhere in our maybe town somewhere
Mm-hmm.
that persons can go and view and while they're doing their research. But I
Mm-hmm.
think now we have to determine who or what we're going to replace Lord Nelson with, if anything at all.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with that as well. Lionel, what was your say on the removal?
Um, I agree that it should have been removed and placed in a maritime museum,
Hmm.
along with other artifacts of Barbadian heritage. Um, I mean, when you hear stories that when you passed Lord Nelson, you had to bow. Um, that was that time. These are totally different times, and we don't need to go down that road in terms of the oppression that would have transpired back then. And
Hmm.
you would hear stories that he really didn't even like Barbados. For a fact,
Yeah.
even though it was the first statue that would have been erected here, before
Hmm.
one would have been erected in the UK.
Correct.
I agree for the removal, and all Barbados needs to do, and Mr. Barbados, I mean the government, is to set up a maritime museum, and that can be a tourist attraction in form that is in to bring in additional revenue. But our heroes who in this new dispensation, right? as Donna Hunt Cox said, whoever is replaced, we need to have someone there who would have propelled Barbados forward over the last 50 years.
Correct, correct. And that is heartfelt by many,
Mhm.
heartfelt by many. Um, we're going to touch a bit on Dr. Donna's journey, but before I do that, I just remembered we have to congratulate two young individuals, and I'm sure she's going to be very proud of them because they are representing Barbados.
Mhm.
I think his name is Coria Breedy, the young boxer, 29-year-old boxer in the US. And we also have Zane Maloney, who
Yes.
just championed in a field that you would rarely see a Barbadian in NASCAR racing. And, we have to congratulate these young athletes who have diversified in areas that you would not even have seen or heard Barbadians in. I am
Yeah.
not into car racing like that. And the young lady Yama, I can't remember her first name. Yama, I can't remember her name now. Um,
The
I
beach
think she
wrestler.
just the beach wrestler. She just
Yeah.
won gold, and as they would say, she brought home the gold for Barbados. We really have to commend these young people who, and we spoke about young people.
Mhm.
These young people are positive entities of Barbados
And should be
and,
highlighted.
and should be highlighted. Furthermore, so as a former teacher, Dr. Donna, what do you say on that? How do you feel about that?
Well, actually, something went wrong just now with your feed and it
Okay,
blanked out. So could you repeat?
okay, we were congratulating the young athletes, Zane Maloney and the young lady from Florida who just won the beach wrestling. And we commended them for the work that they're doing in representing Barbados. And as a former teacher, how do you feel hearing things like that when they're representing Barbados?
Well, of course, I'm ecstatic about their representation and their progress. I strongly believe that over the years, we have tended to focus on the academics and we
Mm-hmm.
have looked down on the what we consider to be extracurricular activities. But you
Yeah,
must know that we have been getting our accolades through sport,
yes,
through entertainment, through
yes,
culture.
yes,
So these are things that before in our education system they were not really given the due that they deserve.
yes,
So someone in car racing, someone in the wrestling, that before we would say, oh, that's just a hobby. No need to put any government funds in trying to hone their skills in that because that has nothing to do with government or progress. But
mm-hmm,
now in these times, we are realizing
mm-hmm.
that those kinds of activities propel us to the international stage.
That's
So I
right.
am glad that Zayn, for example, his parents would have supported him and this circle and to hone the skills so that he can now represent us on an international stage. And
Yes,
everybody will be happy to say, well, he's from Barbados. But when
yes,
he was coming through, our system did not put any monies into car racing or those kinds of things. I think that was
mm-hmm,
purely private. The Bushy
mm-hmm.
Park circuit was basically private. So
Yes,
I am happy that there are, putting their names out there. They're writing their names on history's page, so to speak. I
mm-hmm.
am very happy about that, and I hope that going forward, that we'll be able to critically analyze the benefits of sport, culture, and as such, and really put some money into training and helping the young persons hone their skills in these areas.
Yes. And her
Yes.
name is Yama Payne. I was
Okay.
trying to remember Yama Payne, and that's excellent. But
Mari, before you go, just stick a pin there. When I watched the video
stick a pin.
of young Maloney standing on that podium
Yes.
and the Barbados national anthem playing,
Ooh,
right?
goosebumps.
I yes, exactly. I got goosebumps
Goosebumps. Yes.
because here it is. Well, the new slogan now is small is small island, big island, or something like that. The new tourism slogan. I'll
Mm-hmm.
get that corrected.
Mm-hmm.
But it was pride and a accomplishment that I shared with him being on that stage and hearing
Mm-hmm.
the national anthem being played. And I heard the commentators, right? Barbados,
Barbados.
Barbados.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
When the statement was made years ago that we punch above our weight,
Mm.
that's a fact. And
Mm-hmm.
that facts are stubborn truths.
Yes.
Uh, so kudos to him and kudos to Miss Payne for doing the additional thing to place Barbados in. And it came back home right now. Dr. Hannah Cox made mention of the home environment, his father
Yes.
and whoever else relatives that had been there for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's so important. And here in Barbados, we need to get back to the family unit to stem the tide of whatever criminal elements has been happening. So the paradox, the family planning, I think somebody said the family planning department should be changed to the social services department. But that's
Yeah.
that's for another matter. But
Mm-hmm.
kudos for putting Barbados on the map.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Yes.
Mhm.
And I agree with everything everyone has said. Now, let's head to St. Andrew and we will call her Donna Hunt. First and foremost, let's head to St. Andrew. Let's call her Donna Hunt. A little girl may have been playing in the pasture, running behind her friends and her siblings, picking gooseberries, and somebody hollering, "Hey, don't pick my gooseberries!"
Fat porks and grapes.
And we know up in the country, there's lots of fields and lots of land. Let's go back there with Donna Hunt. Tell us a little bit about Donna Hunt from that wee stage to school. What was it like? Because I'm sure this place that you are in today, you did not envision it.
I was born in Shorey Village, St. Andrew, a small village with a lot of history. So my husband has been discovering since he has been doing our genealogy research.
Yeah.
And as you said, I was born the first of 5 children from my mother and father.
Hmm.
My father is Osborne Carlisle Hunt, and my mother was Catherine Shorey. So we were Shoreys from the Shorey village, and that's another for another program because the heritage there is so rich, you know. I am also the niece of Sir Conrad Hunt, and Sir
Mm.
Conrad Hunt was a very modest man coming from Shorey Village, going to Ali School as well. But he had dreams. He had dreams of being bigger than just um, defined by our 166 square miles.
Hmm.
And as you know, yeah, he has risen to represent and to be known internationally for not only his cricketing skills, but his interpersonal skills
Hmm.
and his philosophy on positive vibrations and positive messages for the young people in terms of development.
That's right.
Um,
Beautiful.
yes.
Mhm.
So, but when I was raised in St. Michael with my paternal grandmother,
Hmm.
and I went to school at Wesley Hall, as you said, and then at Grace Hill. And those formative years were very special to me. My aunt Juanita Hunt, later Hinkson, she saw that I was a little precocious little young girl. At 2 years old, I knew a lot. And she decided, you know what? I'm a teacher. I'm going to ask permission to take this child to school because she's ready. So at two, maybe 2.5, she took me to St. Matthew's School with her. And I, just assimilated. I got involved, and the rest is history. So I had that early educational and social exposure.
Hmm.
But when I got to the age of 10, in those years, we had two chances to sit the common entrance exam. You will know
Hmm.
that, Marie. You're too young. So you started, I think, in class 3. You did the first time in class 3, your first chance. And if you
Okay.
didn't get through then, you did it again in class 4.
Hmm.
So my first try in class 3, I don't know what was going on with me at that time, but I didn't get through for some
Okay.
reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my mother was in the United States at the time, and I wrote to her and I said, I want to go to St. Andrew. I think the time has come for me to go and be with my other siblings. So there were the other four siblings lived in St. Andrew. At that time, they were living in Belle Plaine.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, fine. So my father, at the end of that, well, what we said, the long vacation, I packed my bags and I went to St. Andrew to be with my siblings.
Mm-hmm.
And I joined my sister Cheryl, who is now Cheryl Small. She was so I went into class 4 and she was in class 3. So we now found ourselves doing the exam the same year. And that was 1970. So we did the exam that year and we both passed for the Allen School. So here was going to school, my younger sister for the first time at the Allen. And we have been together and we did a lot together at the Allen. We were in the Girl Guides, we were in the dance troupe, we performed for NIFCA,
Wow.
But my years at the Allen were very special.
Yes.
And I suppose that the training that I would have received at the Allen School has helped me to this day in terms of my own philosophy. And our motto is Alice Don Sibi, for others, not self. So you're always thinking about other people and trying to help other people. And that has been my philosophy, through my years, because I always wanted to help those persons less fortunate than I was, or to help them along. Some people tend to like to brag as they achieve, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you try. My thing was I wanted to help my brother man more or less.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, so that has been with me for those early years. But at the school, I am involved in a chat right now, the 1969 chat.
Mm-hmm. I
Essentially,
definitely.
Essentially, I went to school in 1970, but had I passed my exam in 1969, I would have been legitimately in the 1969 group.
Okay.
However, um, we have been having these WhatsApp chats, and Marie, they have been reminiscing about
Yeah.
those early days, about the shopkeepers in the neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
about how the Allen School and the experience have impacted on their lives.
Yes.
They talk about going up into the hills, and those
Mm-hmm.
days were illicit because we were banned. We were told you are not supposed to cross that little stream and go into the hill to pick forks and grapes and
Mm-hmm.
cashews.
Mm-hmm.
But, as youngsters, we would steal and go across the little river, take off your shoes and socks, and wade through the water and go up in the hills. And so they were reminiscing about those days way back in the country. And a lot of these people that are on the chat talking are not from St. Andrew.
Oh my God.
They're not from St. Andrew. They caught the bus, and catching the bus is another story
Yes.
because you had to. The first bus, the school bus, came at 3 o'clock, and of
Uh-huh.
course it could only hold so much. So you try
Right.
to get on that first bus, but if
Mm-hmm.
you missed that bus, the next bus would have been like 4:30 or so. So you get into town would have been like 5:30. Then you have to catch another bus. Some of those people to go to their homes. So at
Right.
that time, those children would try. Well, the ones who were the obedient ones, there were some who would deliberately miss the first bus so that
Mm-hmm.
they had a little more time to and enjoy the social, so to speak, the social um, activities that the country life afforded them. So yes, so this chat. Sometimes I said to a colleague the other day, we need to look forward now. We need to, yes, we recognize that we had those activities and those skills, and they have done us so well and so proud.
Mm-hmm.
But let us translate now who we have become and what we have become and the skills that we have acquired. Let us try to inculcate some of these into the newer generations.
Yes.
And there has been an initiative that is being pondered as we speak, so that we will try to give back and help the younger generation from our alma mater.
This Dr. Hunt Cox, I assume that back then that these buses were the ones that had the running board. You had to pull down the tarpaulin when the rain fell. Um, you have an experience with any of those buses that I
Yeah,
described?
yes, that was the Rockland bus.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
my experience on that, I'll tell you what, fast forward a little bit as an adult. Um, Coming home I'm not sure what time of day it was. I used to live on a farm called Friendship Farm. And it was a not a ready official bus stop, but it was right in the corner. And my gap to go to my house was right in the corner. So most of the time, the bus drivers would stop in the corner, or sometimes they would slow down. So as a youngster, I decided that I wanted to hop off the bus. So you get down on the running board, and as
Yes.
the bus slowed down and slowed and slowed and slowed, I tried to hop off the bus. But I didn't realize that there's a technique to hopping off the bus. So I hop off the bus with the wrong foot. You see, because
Oh
you have to hop off the bus with the correct foot so that the momentum you will continue
Yes.
running.
Yes.
no.
Correct.
I
Yes, yes.
I hop off the bus with the wrong foot,
Oh my
and the
God.
other foot hit that foot, and I was spraddled. Well, of course, now I
Oh my
was very,
God.
very humiliated,
Oh
had all
no.
kind of bruises, etc. But as young children, you see people doing these things, and you want to emulate, and
Yes.
you're not understanding that there's a technique to that. So
Oh
that
my
was my
God.
experience in hopping the bus or hopping off the bus. But yes, I had the experience of the canvas at the side when the rain came to roll it down or to
Yes.
tie it up, etc.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had those days too, but not the hopping on and off.
Or the falling down.
No, 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 no. When I came here actually, um, when I would have to say I visited, and then when my dad brought me officially to Barbados to live, I was telling someone the other day, I remembered, I'm closing my eyes, where Fairchild Street bus terminal is. It was just like these little islands with these bus, the, the signs. And when you
Yes.
used to go to Lower Green, it was all these little huts around the buses. But the buses were Rockland buses. And then they also had like a little one that was like a truck, and the sides were nailed in, and you had to
Yes.
sit facing the
Yes.
people. You remember
Yes.
that, Lionel?
Yes. And the
Somebody
steps were on
told
the
me that
back.
they never had those. I said,
Yes. The steps were on the
what
back.
what year you I said you had to go through the back to get out of those. Whereas on the Rockland buses you had to board from the sides. So it's only now she's talking about that. I remember telling
Hmm.
someone and they said no, they never had those buses. I said yes. When my granny took me from Fairchild Street and we walked all the way to Low Green, they had these, they looked like trucks, and they used to nail them on the board on the side, and you had
Bedford
to
trucks. Either
bury
Bedford
them.
or London. Mhm.
Right. Am I right, Dr. Donna? Isn't that correct? The old time buses, or as you call them, what you said, Lionel, what they're called?
There were trucks, old Bedford or Leyland trucks that used to
Yeah.
from the back to enter.
I
But
miss those days actually. Not that I don't like the air conditioned buses, but I'm just saying, it'd
Mhm.
be nice to see a few of them back on the market just to give you that experience. And
Yes. Yes.
speaking of experience, Dr. Donna went on to become a teacher, a trained teacher. And if I could recollect, for me, from a little girl, her face has never left my mind. I remember seeing her at school, and I don't think she was there for very long because I guess most of the teachers train at different schools. She can correct me. I think she did a lot of cultural things at school. Um, I can't. I just remember her face, and she remembers me good. A lot of teachers remember my name, and it's a very hard name to call. Marie-Stella. She calls it with the two words together. And it's so funny that every time I see her, I always tell somebody, she was my teacher at school. And they're like, which school? She was my teacher at school. Which school? And I'm sure her teaching experience has taken her to so many schools that she has impacted many students like myself. Dr. Donna, give us that experience that you had while you were learning to be the best teacher within the school system.
Well, thank you, Marie-Stella.
There she
At
goes.
the Bay Primary School, I remember doing my teaching practice there while a student teacher at Erdison College.
Yes.
And I must say that you stood out as a student to me.
Oh,
I cannot say exactly what it was, maybe because you had just come from um,
France, France.
right. So you
Hmm.
were, your speech, you were different. But
Yeah.
it was not only because you were different, it's your personality. And I always
Oh,
remembered you. And then I think I met
wow.
your father. And
Yes.
I'm not quite sure where the connection lies, but I know there's a connection with your dad, maybe, and
Yes.
I'm not sure if my relatives or something, but
Possibly.
you always were on my mind or in my mind. Whenever I saw you, I was happy to greet you, and I'm glad
Yeah.
that I made an impression on you, because as
Yes.
a teacher, especially a young teacher, to make an impression on a child, especially
Yes.
in that short period of time, is
Yes.
is amazing, is remarkable. So I thank you. I thank you. You have made a excuse me, an impression on me as well.
Yes.
So hence we're here today.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
But as a teacher, I always wanted to bring out the best in students. And I
Yes.
thought that around this student, you needed to have a little bit more than just the academics. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
the athletics helped, but at that time, the curriculum did not allow for any dance or music. Well, music, you probably got away with it because you were preparing for speech day or special program. So you would
Yes.
have the teacher would do the train the choir, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But dance and theater or drama was not really a part of the curriculum at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But as a youngster coming up, I always liked to perform. I always liked to dance. So whenever there were guests coming to our house, I would go and put on mommy's clothing or auntie's clothing, and we would come
Mm-hmm.
up and model, and we would perform and sing, and. So I always felt that I wanted to get that into the school, into the children that I taught. And when I went to St. George School, I think it was just after Carifesta in Barbados.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to St. George School, and the first year that I did dance for NIFCA, it was the year that they said Punka was picked to be the Calypso
King.
monarch at that time, but it was
Right.
rained out.
Uh-huh.
It was
Yes.
rained out that
Mm-hmm.
year. But this song, Tuck Band Rhythms, was very, very popular.
Mhm.
And that year, I did a dance called the Village Dance with St. George School, and we got a gold award. It was the first time
Wow.
these children from St. George were being taught dance and doing choreography and that kind of
Beautiful.
stuff. And it
Mm-hmm.
was it was it was amazing. So we decided to incorporate the country life with this tuck band, etc. So
Mm-hmm.
we got the children to bring bananas. It was like a harvest at our school. And we
Mm-hmm.
had those down baskets, and we put the things in, and we had the people pretending to be hawkers on this Sunday morning, playing their trade, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
then you hear the top band rhythms, and people start, you get into your bones, and you
Yes.
start to move. And then
Mm-hmm.
as they left their trays and they ran to the music, and it was like a jubilation,
Mhm.
and we got a goal. And to this day, sometimes I meet students. Sometimes I don't even recognize them. They say that I look the same way.
Yes, you do.
But sometimes I will meet these students. I will say, "Mom, you remember me?" I said, "No, you don't remember me. I was one of your dancers at St. George School."
Mm.
And I said, "No," but I said, "Yes, I enjoy that. That is always with me." And these are adults that have children, and they say they
Yes.
always remember that experience
Yes.
of
Yes.
doing that dance and performing for NIFCA. Now,
Yes.
I had to go on a limb because these students in St. George, most of their parents didn't have any transportation. So we
Yeah.
had to arrange transportation. And of course, I was responsible for making sure that every single child got back to their home. And
Mm-hmm.
after the performance at NIFCA, most times you'll be getting back home after 11 o'clock. And I had to go to each and every door and knock
Mm-hmm.
on the door, make sure and hand the child back over, say thank you very much. And
Mm-hmm.
this one particular child, I knocking on the door and nobody opened. And I said, well, I don't understand what you can do with this child tonight. Even the parents were so confident and that I was going to take care of their child. They went sleep.
Oh my
They went
God.
sleep. And they were sleeping
Oh,
hard. But those experiences, they really have helped to shape me as an individual as well.
That that
yes. Yes.
that question here, because you would have won the coveted Madam Eiffel Award in
Mm-hmm.
1986. Can you
Mm-hmm.
share a little bit of that with us? And I'm going to ask the question: who is Madam Eiffel?
Well, the Madam Eiffel Award was a coveted award of excellence in dance.
Okay.
And she was a very a person who wanted to make sure that the culture was inculcated in youngsters as well.
Okay.
And they decided to name this award after her for excellence. And you couldn't just get it just anybody. So this year, I had left St. George and I went to Luther Thorne.
Mhm.
And at that time, as I said, there was nothing on the syllabus. So what we did is we had a dance group that we made. The students had to audition, and I chose the students, and we did extracurricular activity. We would rehearse and do this choreography for NIFCA. And I remember the year before, um, we had done so well that Barbados Dance Theatre took note at the time. And they sent a young lady called Charmaine Headley to us. And I said to the principal at the time, Mr. Oh dear, his name escapes me right now. But I said to the principal at the time, let us incorporate dance as part of the physical education timetable. And because I couldn't do it because that was not allowed for me. But then I did the choreographies after school as extracurricular. So that
Mm-hmm.
year, she did a choreography and I did one. And my choreography won the Madam Eiffel Award. And we won, I think it was $1,000 for the school.
Okay.
And we got a trophy. And it was the first primary school to win the Madam Eiffel Award. And it
Beautiful.
was it was so amazing. I felt so special. And the principal, he of course he went up and he collected the award because he was ecstatic about it. And from then on, we kind of had dance as part of the physical education curriculum at Luther Thorne. I'm not sure if it still happens today, but
Okay.
since then we went on to have some people like Ramon Joseph who came and taught dance on the 93
Mm-hmm.
um, 93 syllabus basically. But it is very, again, I meet a lot of these students that will say to me, Mom, I remember going to NIFCA and performing with you and whatever, and you feel so special, so
Yeah.
special. So
Yeah.
yes.
And I must say, Dr. Donna, I don't know. 22 years in the service of teaching. Do you miss it?
Yes and no. Yes, I miss it because um, okay, let me go back to when I first was teaching in St. Andrew. There was a little boy, his name was Leslie. Leslie's still alive today, but Leslie was a special child. And because in those days we didn't have special education, and
Mm-hmm.
certainly if there was special education, there was none in St. Andrew, and his parents would not have been able to afford to send him or to bus him, so to speak, to a special ed school. So
Right.
Leslie came into school. It was reception or infants A, and he was different. But the love and attention that I gave to Leslie when Leslie sees me today, as special as Leslie is, Leslie never forgets me. He would always shout me up, and it's most of the time I will see him if I go to St. Andrew to a funeral.
Yeah.
And so it's that kind of thing that is near and dear to my heart, to be able to impact on these young lives. So
Yeah.
I really miss that interaction with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I have gone into human resource development, which is development, just as education is human resource development. I
Right.
have gone into another aspect of education, so
Right.
to speak, in terms of human resource development. So teaching and training is still a part of me.
Mm-hmm.
But and sometimes you have to apply some of the principles you had for the young people to the adults as well. So
That's for
I'm
sure.
still, yes, motivation techniques, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Those techniques and those principles still work.
And for sure, uh, your accolades are so heavy that I don't know if anybody else can put their prints to them. You were founding tutor at the Barbados Community College for the Performing Arts. You were a part-time lecturer at the Center for Management Development, University of the West Indies, Cave Hill, now called Cave Hill School of Business. Tutor and dissertation advisor with the University of Surrey Masters Program. Director for the Academy for Career Development in Barbados. And you also was fortunate as well to manage the Barbados Center for Creative Imagination, which really and truly shows that you still have that passion and love for education. You also became the CEO of the National Cultural Foundation. Tell us a bit about that experience, and what was your vision when you got to sit in that chair for the NCF?
Well, years ago, I always endeavored that there were three jobs that I did not want to have. And
Mm-hmm.
that was and that was the CEO of the National Cultural Foundation, the CEO of the hospital, and there was another one. I can't remember the third one right now. I said, you know what, those are too political, and I do not want to, get those kind of jobs, because you do not get to really explore and create and make your mark because
Mm-hmm.
of the sometimes interference.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at the Arabara Center at the time. I had just got there. I was going into my first year,
Mm-hmm.
and the Professor Yearwood he was on the board of the NCF at the time. And I was approached, and the person said to me, "We are looking for a CEO of the NCF, and your name keeps coming up." I said,
Mm.
"Thank you, but it's okay." But when you pray about something, and then this
Yeah.
thing keeps coming back, and you say,
Mm-hmm.
"Father, am I not reading what you're saying to me? Is this what
Mm-hmm.
you want for me?" And I
Mm-hmm.
keep saying no.
Mm-hmm.
And the person came back to me and said, "Your name keeps coming." I said, "Go there, put it out there, and headhunt." And I was told that they did. And they came back to me and said, "Your name keeps coming out. We will let you to apply."
Mm.
So I prayed about it, and I thought that I was, understanding the message,
Mm-hmm.
and I applied, and I was successful, and I
Mm.
started my journey at the NCF. So that's how I got to be at the NCF,
Right.
reluctantly, so to speak. But I enjoy my tenure. I was only there for one contract, which was 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
My contract was not renewed,
Mm-hmm.
but it was an eventful 3 years. It had its successes. It had its highlights. I enjoyed interacting with the cultural artists. I enjoy working with the members of the community, the children, when it came to like NIFCA, etc., and also with the staff at the NCF. The challenge I had was while there was, I suppose, my views and my vision did not mesh with the board at the time. And so there was a disconnect, and then there was no harmony after a certain time. But I enjoyed my tenure there. What accomplishments I had, I still relish in those. And to this day, people meet me and said to me, "You are one of the best CEOs that we had at NCF. I like how you were involved in our progress, etc." And right now, I am engaged in a presentation, a proposal to inculcate and to train the cultural artists and creative artists. I can't say too much on that, but again, marrying the training or the educational component with the creative and cultural component, that is what I hope to do, especially now in the COVID period. And we're hoping that this is able to take off post-COVID.
Right.
Okay. Right. So with your achievements at the NCF, what was one of your babies that really made a mark for you during that time, during your tenure? What was the true, as you said, you had some ups and downs. There were some that would not have gone through and some that would have had to stay back. But what was one of your achieved projects that you had that all of us would recognize and remember?
I don't know if there's a specific project that I would have embarked on. I tried to clean up and make things better by looking critically at certain things like judging process for whether it was for NIFCA or it was for crop over, or even trying to get training programs out there in the schools. I never really got the chance to see my vision realized because I was only there for 3 years, and it was unfortunate, but that didn't happen. So, but trying to make sure that persons were given a fair share of what they're doing. I remember there was a situation where a group started to perform at finals, and the round music was cued. And I'm sorry, let me do a different example. The person set up the keyboards, which was programmed on the stage. Someone who is also a performer went on stage, tampered. I don't want to say tampered. They changed. They went. I don't want to make it look as it was predetermined, but in interacting with the board, they changed the settings. So when the performers started to perform, instead of the psychedelic sounds that they had programmed, when you, for example, press a particular key, it will not sound like that particular key. It will have an eerie, different kind of sound. And it was going to enhance the presentation. And you have sponsors, you have money, you have costumes, you put your time and energy in it. And then you're on stage, the music starts, and instead of hearing the sound that you're like, whatever, you're hearing, ping, boom, and you could see that this was not, we know that this is not their music, and we could understand what was happening. But I must take my hat off to those two performers. They did the entire dance. I could imagine they must have been dying on the stage. They did the entire dance to the end, but of course it had no impact on the judges or the audience because it was not what the whole picture was supposed to be.
Right.
So I endeavored to go to the the committee, and I said, we got the attorney in, and we said, well, the arbiter, to talk about this thing, because this group, this particular couple, they were disadvantaged because of this. So those kind of things that I would want to make sure. And I remember having this committee, and someone said, "Oh, she's only doing that because the person who was the performer was her friend." So they could not see that I was being professional and wanted a standard. They went into that personal thing because the person, the young lady's mother is my friend. but that doesn't mean that I cannot be fair. I did not want the National
Yeah.
Cultural Foundation, their image and their reputation to be sullied because of individuals who have made mistakes. So it's
Yeah.
those kind of things that I wanted to clean up to make sure that going forward things would be more professional and more,
Yes. Yes.
Understood.
Yes.
Understood.
Yes. Yes. That's so true. That's so true. So, in this present day, with what NCF is doing and the expectation for crop over, what's your view right now on how it's being regarded in terms of progress? Where do you think that there's some flaws that need to be improved? Why we say that is because the culture we are creating is supposed to be something everlasting, something remembered forever. Barbados has a mark for crop over. So, in your experience, in your love for culture, do you think we're moving forward for crop over under how the NCF is branded now? And if not, what can you see that would put them back on track?
When I heard your interview with the minister recently, and you started to talk about the last kings and those experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and then I said, "Well, I didn't remember that Marie's so old to have those experiences." But but the thing
My
about it,
granny used to take me to those things, even the ones that were, I think, on the garrison. So I'm going way back for a lot of people, and I'm young.
yes. So we had porters, we had Portville, we had those big fairs, etc. Then we had the Queen shows, and
Yes,
we
yes.
moved away from the true cultural aspect of it and went commercial.
Yeah,
So
but
hence,
I really miss the costumes with the king and the queens.
yeah,
How can that be brought back in? Because that really sets a kind of a culture part to crop over.
yes, but you see, sometimes you have concepts by particular individuals, and when other people come into the picture after, they want to make their mark, and sometimes they take away stuff that, because they don't want to continue it because it was the brainchild of a particular set of people that went prior.
Mm,
But we have to
mm,
stop looking at things from a personal level or political level when it comes to culture in this
mm-hmm.
country. We
Yeah,
Agree.
have to look at the
agree.
people who are the experts, and don't say because they support a particular party that we alienate them. So we have to
Mm-hmm.
look at how can we harness the expertise and the knowledge of people who even have gone before,
Yes.
but we can't
Mm-hmm.
start reinventing the wheel and starting over every single time, starting over. It's like,
No.
as the old people say, spinning top in mud.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to continue. We should be further along with our cultural development.
Yes. Yes.
NIFCA, for example, we have American Idol and all those things. NIFCA was basically our Barbados idol.
Yes.
We
Mm-hmm.
and but after the people win, then what? Then what? After they win for progressive years, what? We get them a piece of paper that doesn't really. You say yes, you are really happy that you won a gold award. You have this nice paper, or you have this little trophy.
Okay.
But I figured that we needed to have taken NIFCA beyond. When we
I
Yes.
keep
agree.
it to
Yes.
that
I
part,
agree.
stop and start back next year again.
Mm-hmm.
Start and stop and start back again. We needed to take those winners and
Mm-hmm.
do something with them to hone their skills to take them to the next level. And
Yes.
that
Yes.
is why we have had people in Barbados that people said, oh, these people can sing better than Rihanna and blah, blah, blah. Yes,
Mm,
we have people that were very gifted as or better than Rihanna, yes,
yes.
but it is how you make those people feel about themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and what do you do to take those people and hone their skills to take them to the next level.
Yes.
I agree. And I would add also, um, when it comes to NCF, when it comes to culture, and I remember in a previous program I had mentioned to Marie, that we probably need to get someone from the NCF to come on the show.
Yes, you did. You did.
But I think going forward, and I am strong in my belief when it comes to culture, that we need to have cultural practitioners
Mm.
who can, and historians added to the mix of the NCF, who can really bring out the different cultural diversity that we have in Barbados. And I agree with you, um,
Dr.
uh,
Donna.
Dr. Donna, that those who won NIFCA, whether it's NIFCA, whether it's the band of the year, whether it's the sing of the year, that be exported throughout the Caribbean and on the international scene. Because worldwide, I know there's the spoken word and there's the poems and so forth, right? We need to export our culture,
Yes.
and I think this is where the NCF needs to go. And as I said, they need to have cultural persons who are qualified
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
who live culture,
Mm-hmm.
and the historians to be involved at the NCF, and not, it should not be politicized,
Politicize. Yes, that is so true. That's so true. And once we
because
have those,
we're
yeah.
missing out so much,
Mm-hmm.
um, the heritage of Barbados and the culture aspect of it. I've been to several NIFCO shows and was so impressed with the talent that we have here. It needs to be exported.
Definitely. Definitely. And it used to be exported. Don't forget, you had Laugh It Off, and you also had
But
um,
Marie-Stella Laugh It Off was private.
that was a private entity, yes.
Yes.
But in my mind, it still brought a piece of Barbados outside. If not, I'm using Laugh It Off. Let's look at the square ones and the crossfires.
Mhm.
That again was private, but
Mm-hmm.
they saw the vision you're seeing, what Lionel and I are seeing. They saw that, and the entity of, for example, let me use an island, Trinidad, for example. Trinidad always used to have a road show. If anybody doesn't know what a road show is, they're selling their island. So they would go from country to country and city to city and take that product outside of Trinidad to other areas. They would usually start in the region and then they would continue outside of the region because they want people to come to Trinidad. So that's like selling their culture, their heritage.
Mhm.
I am not sure, I could be corrected if anybody thinks I'm wrong. But at some point in time, the way how Barbados, quote unquote, was advertised was sand, sea, and sun. A lot of culture was not put unless they pounced on Crop. And I think that's where they probably pushed during those times of doing road shows. Um, but Barbados is not culture from Crop. Barbados is just cultural. It's a very historic country. We
Yes.
have so many puns on first and everything in Barbados that to me that's neglected. A lot of things, as we spoke on a previous show, was Barbados has the oldest rum, not in the region, not in the US, in the world. We have the third oldest parliament in the world. And of course, we have the best cricketer still alive. Don't talk about all the Shane Warrens and them in the world. So Barbados has always made a mark, but it is, as she said, how are we honing that outside of Barbados? Because we need to take it outside of Barbados. And I
Mhm.
agree that it really needs to be put further outside of this 166 square miles. It
No,
really is.
agree. No, Laugh It Off 2019 was so hilarious. Excellent production. I attended. I laughed from the beginning of the show to the end of the show. I was truly looking forward to 2020,
2020.
but COVID hit, shutdown hit. There was, when I spoke to I think it was Mr. Esrick, in terms of if there was going to be a show. They were
Hmm.
planning, but it didn't work out.
Yeah, yeah.
To me, Laugh It Off, I believe, should have gone Caribbean. They should have gone through the Caribbean islands promoting it, and
Hmm.
and and I think I think that we
That's a good idea, Lionel, because if you have Caribbean Comedy Fest and they're starting within the region, they can do
yes.
the same thing. I mean, that's food for thought.
Hmm. So a
You
new
know,
dispensation in terms of culture and NCF going forward.
correct.
If I had to be the person deciding for the NCF, I would have. I repeat again. I would have historians. I would have persons who have a love for culture. I will
Uh-huh.
have the qualified individuals, and I will have the
Mhm.
persons who are actually involved in culture, managing culture. Uh,
Right.
I will have a marketing person involved as well, who are able to promote culture overseas and look to export Barbadian culture.
Beautiful. Yeah, I agree with you.
So I would
Now,
have Donna Hunt Cox back there.
now,
Listen, not me and that Pele case,
ay,
Bozy.
ay, 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 ay.
Now that is culture.
That's culture. Definitely. That is definitely culture. Now, before I forget, we've had some people here on our comments box wishing her happy birthday, Marcia Toppin, as well as Audrey Cox. I think that's your uncle who has
Aunt,
wished you, Audrey,
aunt.
sorry, Aunt, my niece, yes, who is wishing you happy birthday and she's locked on and following. And a gentleman mentioned something here, Everton Henry. Technique is important, Donna. I think that was something we were talking about with your school. Veronica Hairston, she's enjoying it. She's listening to all of your achievements that you've mentioned throughout the show thus far. And speaking of doctor, we're going to bring it forward again. And remember, in my days, it was ma'am this, ma'am that. Now it's
Yes.
Dr. Donna Hunt Cox, who from 2014 to 2018, I think that's an accolade, became the Consul General of Barbados, New York. When you were called to that position, let us know what your experience was because I'm sure you never thought that that hat would have been adorned on your head.
Well, years ago, someone prophesied into my life that I was going to, assigned to a position where I was going to be speaking to large audiences, and they said somewhere like the United Nations. And
Hmm.
I kind of laughed it off. Then, I said, okay, take it in stride. Because at that time, I hadn't had a doctorate yet or anything. This was years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I got the call a Sunday afternoon, and I was told that they were thinking of the person that was thinking of me as a diplomat for the African states, but it hadn't been identified as yet. So they said it's going to take some time for that to happen. But in the meantime, we want you to go to New York as Consul General. And I had spoken to my husband before about possible jobs that would take me out of the country, and we had agreed that it was okay. So when the person said to me, you can discuss it with your husband, I said, excuse me, I don't have to discuss it with my husband because he's already on board. We had discussed this at length. So they said, well, the next call you will get will be from the minister to put things in place. So, and the rest is history. The thing about it is that that time there was not a lot of fanfare in terms of me getting the position. Since then, you would have heard that this body has been appointed as consul general or ambassador, and you will see a write up on them, and but it was almost as though that it was a secret. And
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of information did not go there before I left this shores to New York. And I remember going to New York, and I wasn't met 100% with enthusiasm because people felt that I had taken away the job from the previous consul general. And I said, but it has nothing to do with me. I don't appoint myself, and I had a lot of damage control to do to show people that I was not involved in any conspiracy. I'm here as a person who have been I would think my career, my track record spoke, and I'm here to try to help the community to improve, etc. And I work hard to build bridges and to heal wounds. And to this day, I must say some of the persons who were very negative and standoffish at the beginning grew to realize the kind of person I am, and to support the activities and projects that I was engaged with. Um, but I must say that it was one of the highlights of my career, and I thank the Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister Francis Stewart, for affording me the opportunity to serve my country in that capacity.
Right.
And coming out of the fact that I had my contract was not renewed at the NCF, I know there were persons out there were probably saying, "But why she wasn't renewed, and why this and why that?" And so I know I had to prove myself, to prove to people, and to prove to people that might be saying to the same Prime Minister, "Why you saying she because of XYZ?" So I want to make sure that I serve my country well. I want to make sure that everything that I was doing was communicated not only in the diaspora but back home, so people will understand the kind of work that we do as diplomats, especially as consuls general in the community up there. So I reached out, and I had some strategic partners, and we had an arrangement with Barbados Today. Then we had arrangement with Nation News through Tony Best. So things that we did in the community, highlights, would always get through to Barbados. So we want to make sure that that was communicated, because prior to that, people were always on the call-in program asking, what do these people do? What we haven't heard anything about the Consul General, what they're doing in New York or wherever. So I would always make sure that that communication came back to Barbados.
Yes,
And
yes.
I would say we want to, on behalf of all Barbados, those who support and those who support, we want to thank you for your service,
That's right.
country, and to our country and to us as Barbadians. So I'm speaking for everybody. So we
Yeah.
want to thank you.
Definitely, definitely,
I
definitely.
don't know if you have a question, but I have a question here.
Yes.
I would like Dr. Donna to touch a little bit on the road to democracy to commemorate 350 years of Barbados Parliament in Barbados. I think that is, I mean, to be tasked with that. I think it's significant. Can you touch a little bit on that for us?
Yes, thank you. I was the assistant director. I was given that post based on my interaction with the then director, who was commissioned, Dr. Elizabeth Clark. And at the time, it was a massive, we had over 1,000 or so participants, maybe more than 1,000 participants in the different disciplines that came together. So I not only was I the assistant director helping her to conceptualize and to produce, but I was also the director for dance and also costume director. So I was very heavily involved in that production. And I must say it was a massive undertaking, but very collaborative, and people really came together and did the rehearsals all over the island to make this presentation a memorable one. It is, for my mind, it still stands out as one of the top highlights of productions in Barbados, certainly in my lifetime. And I am honored to have been involved in that. I want to also recognize Daphne Millington, who was the deputy chief education officer at the time. And she worked very closely with me, and she was a sweetheart, God rest her in her grave. But she was very much for arts and education, and she actually was one of the persons who sang my praises, and it was through her that I was able to get the National Development Scholarship. So I want
Hmm.
to say thank you to her posthumously.
Yes, I take that, and we know that we would have taken most part of your morning for the birthday. Um, we have a guest who's asking a question with regards to the topic we touched on this morning. Um, that just before we get to the end of the show, what can be done to prevent guns getting into the youth hands? I think that's a very hard question to ask anyone. But I guess they want to have an idea as a former teacher and still teaching indirectly. What's your personal thought on that aspect with what's been happening?
This is for
They're asking, what do you think should be done to prevent the guns from getting into the youth's hand, the hands of the youth?
well, the youth don't have money. They don't have money. I don't know where the network is or where the hierarchy or where it is, but the youth don't have money to buy no AK-47s and those kind of things. So somebody has to be bringing them in or making them accessible. A
Hmm.
word on the street is that people can rent these things and go and do something and come back. I don't know, it's alleged,
Hmm.
but these are things that we have to try and break. We have to try and break that cycle. We have
Cycle.
to more or less, yeah, get involved and infiltrate or something to find out who are some of these people. But
Yeah.
there are people who have money, obviously, that are supplying, and I don't know what is the purpose of supplying that. If you were to ask these people with the money to give a donation for training of these same young people so that they can do something worthwhile, and I'm not talking about putting a wee whacker in their hands. That is, to my mind, that is,
A lesser
discriminatory.
individual.
Yes,
Yeah.
every time you're saying something about the youth and everything on the block, they put a weed whacker in their hands. Get these people to come and teach them certain skills beyond weed whacking.
Hmm.
Yeah. But,
Yes, that is so true. That is so true. And let them afford the opportunity to learn a skill,
Yes.
because I could take a weed whacker and weed whack too. So it's yeah,
yeah.
it's
At the end of the day,
important for them
yes.
to have a skill, be it in carpentry, be it in a plumber, be it in pottery, be it in anything, making
Art,
of seasonings to
art,
sell, art,
jewelry. Yeah.
anything, a barber, something which creates a skillful individual within society.
Yes.
I agree with what you're saying, because any and everybody, the smallest child could weed whack. I mean, it really, we really have to change the mindset of how everybody is looking at. And as we said in the earlier program, I don't remember with whom, Barbados has nearly 90% blacks, and you won't see the 5% weed whacking. They're gonna be teaching their children otherwise, and it's not to get to a point of being discriminatory, but we're just saying it's a big picture that we see, and we really have to try to move forward and give these children the opportunity to grow. Don't tell them about collar and tie, because out there in society we have a lot of persons who might have the same masters, the same degrees, and they're out there as SSA workers. I know for a fact you have some people who have a lot of degrees that are security guards. So I think that's a different spectrum, different conversation. And I think a lot of persons have to stop this um, downgrading of children, even when it comes to schools. Because we know you've been to Aline, Lionel's been to his lodge, I've been to Springer. A lot of people, quote unquote, some persons may not look at these schools as institutions that were of, a grounding for us to excel. And you, Dr. Donna, has shown that, especially going to a school who, coming down in the years, just like my school, you hear a lot of people talk about those schools, and they don't want their children to go to those schools. And it's not a matter of going to the Aline school, it's a matter that the school was within your proximity of residence, and that's where you went and that's where you want to go. and you excel. What you have to try to teach children of today is whichever school you go to, remember it's an institution and that's where you have to learn. Some of these schools have better curriculums than others. And I see that as a parent. Some of the other schools do have better curriculums than as we say, the older schools. So there's always progression, and the school may suit that child based on their learning capacity. My daughter might be good at art, and she may want say I'm just using the scenario. She might say, "Mommy, I want to go to Alexander." First thing that comes to mind, you got to catch 2 buses to get there. Notably, that we know that the school bus still is free for them to go to. You're saying, am I? Because that school has a lot of academics in the arts. So you have to, I think, push your child to where they want to go.
Agreed.
And support them, give them that support. Don't cry them down. You have to be disciplined as well, but listen to them. I think that's a lot of things parents don't do. They don't listen. If you listen to your child, that's how you learn about your child. And I'm sure Dr. Donna can assure me that and assert that as a parent herself, that's what she had to do. And you only learn from the best, because as a teacher, she would have to listen to me and learn from me as well, the same way how I learned from her. And that's what we spoke about earlier in the show.
Yes.
Now, before we go, the list, I have 3 pages. The list here, she has 2 hobbies I like. Well, most of the hobbies she has here I like. Dancing, cooking, gardening, which Lionel is very good at, I hope. And of course, she has an extensive traveling list. Now, Lionel, I've been to the UK, I've been to the US, I've been to Canada, and je suis française, so I know France. I haven't been to Africa, China, Costa Rica, South Korea. Now, South Korea is the place I'm quite intrigued with, because I think she can answer the piece in the back. Is that something to do with South Korea, Dr. Donna? It reminds me
not
Asian.
really,
No?
just coincidental.
And then she's also been to Español, Madrid, Spain. Where do you want to go next? Where is your next dream holiday?
Well, when you think about COVID and the countries that have the challenges, how they handle COVID, I would not want to be caught in any of those countries today with any challenges, any medical challenge.
Challenges, yeah.
So I must say I went to Africa just before this thing broke out, because I went to Africa the December, and I think it was the January, February that that this COVID hit. So I barely get out with the skin of my teeth, basically. And I don't know if I would ever get the opportunity to go to Africa again in my lifetime. So, and then we talk about tourism, and we talk about travel. And yes, you would like to travel and see the world. My mother was a keen and an avid cruiser. But when you think about some of the places that are so extreme, challenging, especially with the political, the violence, and then the mudslides and those kind of stuff, then, you'll be like, oh my Lord, yes, you want to see these exotic places, but sometimes you say to yourself when you watch it on television, thank God that I'm not there, that I'm here in Barbados. I thank God for the opportunities that He has given me thus far. If there are any in the future, I thank Him for that too, but I'm good.
But if it was, and things change in the next 5 years, God spare our lives, what would have been your last or one of your markers to visit? Because I see here you've been to Africa 3 times.
Well, actually, it was one visit. We went to Ghana, then Senegal, and then South
South
Africa.
Africa. Okay, on one
Yes,
trip.
on
Okay.
one trip. Yes, so it
Mhm.
lasted about 3 weeks. So about 3 weeks.
And
It
what
was a
was it
kind of
like?
fact finding. It was kind of like
Mhm.
a fact finding tour. It was celebrating and the door of no return when the slaves were taken away, and it says
Yeah.
the door of no return because they will never come back to the country again.
Right.
So
Hmm.
we from the diaspora were going back to Africa. So they named it the door of our return. So it was a fact finding mission, but also pay homage to our motherland and things of that nature, but also exploring opportunities for business and trade, and the fact that Barbados is the most easterly of the island chain,
Hmm.
to see if there's a possibility that they could be direct, or Barbados can be a hub for travel between Africa and the Western world.
Yeah.
So there were those preliminary discussions, but I went as a part of a group from New York.
Hmm.
Good. And
And
where Ghana is concerned, there have been linkages formed. I was on a webinar sometime early this year. There have been linkages formed where Ghana is concerned, and that is progressing. I think there has been an ambassador appointed. No, I know there has been an ambassador appointed for cultural ambassador or ambassador appointed to Ghana. So there are linkages that are being formed with Ghana, and as far as I was told, there's a planned trip in 2022
right.
to visit Ghana in terms of business and looking at culture, looking at products and services.
Beautiful.
So
And
you probably started the process, Dr.
I
Donna.
think so. I think so. She would have, because there's nothing that she hasn't touched that hasn't moved forward. I think that she has truly and really excelled in her feat of what she wants to do. She has a purpose. Um,
Yes.
I want to know a little bit about Senegal. Well, if I had to, I'm not going anywhere. I'm like you, beautiful Barbados. But give me a little bit of Senegal. I know it's Senegalese. I think they speak French, if I'm correct. I don't remember. But what was it like in Senegal?
Well, I really enjoyed both, well, all the places that I went to in Africa, and
Hmm.
they have different they impact you differently. But I
Okay.
must say, we went to Ghana first, and we went to the the place where the slaves were kept anyway, and
Hmm.
they were sent off. And then in
Right.
Senegal also, we also went to on a boat to the Gorée island,
Hmm.
and we were able to take pictures there, and you really felt the the, the presence of
Mm.
the persons who would have gone before,
Mm.
and that was very, it was very emotional, and
Hmm.
so we really it was not a lot of like sightseeing, etc. We went for specific things and to meet with certain people and to explore certain options, etc. One of the things that intrigued me was when I was in South Africa. I was afforded the
Hmm.
opportunity to present at the African Parliament there, and I spoke about Barbados being the most easterly, and about airlifts, etc., and made good presentations there. I also established a table to present some of our items and some of our cultural offerings. And persons came to me, and they were
Right.
inquiring. And there was one particular His Royal Highness, he owned already a television station in South Africa, and he was
Hmm.
very excited about coming to Barbados. He wanted to come. He said, "I want to come to Barbados. I want to come to Barbados." So, and he wants to also have an agreement where he can perhaps show some of his um, shows, the content here in Barbados or through the Caribbean, and vice versa. We can showcase some of our things in South Africa, for example. And you spoke about road shows. The road shows don't have to be physical anymore. We can have a documentary that we can send to South Africa, and that can be shown there, so people can get to see not only what the BTMI portray in terms of sand, sea, and whatever, but we can also showcase Laugh It Off. We can showcase some of NIFCA highlights. We can showcase Crop Over. So we don't have to physically carry, a delegation there, especially now with COVID, and this is not going to change overnight. So we have to conceptualize or reconceptualize or define a new vision. How best are we going to go forward, and how are we going to make money on it in this new compensation? We need to show how we're going to make money. And so we need to have some of the persons who are the social media experts to come on board with the cultural experts and the financial people, and everybody have to come together now and determine what is a new way forward so that we can make money. The artists can make money, the musicians can make money, because right now nobody is making any money, and as far as everybody is concerned, that's their problem, because but when everything is going good, it makes Barbados look good and everybody is happy. But when everything drops and you cannot pay your bills, you know what? It's your challenge. It is your challenge. So that's why we have to equip these artists with the training that is necessary to make them total entrepreneurs. So that's the project that I'm currently working on, that I'm trying to sell. I made a presentation to an NCF officer recently, and we're trying to more or less sell this concept, because we have to build new skills in these cultural and creative practitioners.
Agreed. And two things I know here is Cape Coast Castle. I think this name, and the slogan for the new Barbados tourism slogan is Little Island, Big Barbados.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Let's get her to touch a little bit on gardening.
Oh.
I made the cooking, so hey,
But I love coming from St. Andrew. My great grandmother, she worked in the fields, from my maternal side, and so I came up with my grandmother having crops or little things grown down through the track, we will call it. And I used to wonder, she doesn't have any irrigation, how these things were growing. I up to this day, I cannot imagine how the potatoes and the yams and those things were growing. But she was able to do it and do it well. And so I always liked gardening. I didn't do agricultural science at school because I was in an A stream. A stream was for the academics. And that's a whole nother discussion. Streaming that took people lives down some roads that didn't make any sense. But anyway, that was done. So I always liked the gardening. And I started to do some backyard gardening. But then when COVID hit us, people were talking about food security. Oh Lord, how Barbados gonna survive if the ships stop coming and the foods don't come? What gonna become of us? And how much food do we have in the island to last us for X amount of time? And do you remember when people were in a panic with that?
Yes.
And I said, you know what? I am going to start to plant something. I can't plant to last me for a whole year, but I'm going to plant some things that would at least to help me and help my family if push comes to shove. And I started to plant some beans and some okra and some lettuce and those kind of things. And I loved it. But my mom died last year, June 3rd. And actually around this time is when she was in a hospital. And, that was very hard on me and hard on all of us. And we weren't able to go and really be with her during her last moments, etc. So it was very hard on us. But one of the things that took my mind off of the seriousness of it was to put my all into the garden.
Yeah. Therapeutic.
And so the garden kind of
Was
went to
therapy.
grass. It went to grass for a couple of months after her passing.
Yeah.
But then it was almost as though she said, Donna, come on, snap out of it. You know, get up,
Yeah.
life goes on.
Yeah.
And I started to redesign my garden. So now I have been using YouTube as my trainer. So I
Oh,
have been doing trellis gardening. I have been planting potatoes in containers. I have my sweet potatoes and my yam and my eddos.
Aye.
And
Country
yes, and
girl.
my trellis garden is going well. I saw my first watermelon growing on the trellis. So I'm gonna
Woo.
soon have to go and put her in some pantyhose because you know they have to put the pantyhose around the watermelon. Yes, and then they to give them support.
yes,
And
yes.
then they tie it onto the trellis. They tie it onto the trellis so that it gets the support. Yes. So I have to watch my little female watermelon to put her in some pantyhose very soon because
You're not using those
overnight they
pantyhose
grow.
again. You're not using those pantyhose again, Dr.
No,
Donna.
no, no. You have to cut. You have to cut it. Yes, you have to cut it. So thank God I still have some pantyhose available because nowadays nobody don't wear no pantyhose. So anyway, so that has been good, and I have so many things now that I am growing. I mean, so many things that I have been growing now. You know that I when I started to do. I started to do a PowerPoint presentation yesterday, and I said, you know, I want to prepare to do this presentation because my girlfriend said to me, I want to encourage you to maybe come and do a presentation at UE where we look at how you fared in COVID. So I have some things like, for example, I have eggplant, broccoli, cauliflower. And did you know that there are purple, white, and orange carrots?
Yes.
Right?
Sure, yesterday, yes.
Yes. And also beans, purple, white, yellow beans. Yes. Green beans. So I have been experimenting on those as well. And there's something called kohlrabi, which is a connection to the cabbage family, but that is very interesting as well. So I have been doing the traditional things like the pumpkin, the spinach, the sweet corn, the sweet peppers, tomato, and you know what? I'm trying my hand at onions.
6 months. 6 months.
Yeah, I'm trying my hand at onions.
Listen,
but of
Lionel,
course,
we gotta go across by her house.
Yeah,
I go to my dung basket.
No,
I'm
listen.
getting my dung basket.
Okay, let me correct that. We have to take a trip to the country.
But listen, but I am not living in the country, no, Lionel.
Oh, no, the country is at you. The country is at you.
The country is at me. Yes. Listen, but you know, but the country mentality is still in me, you know, because my grandmother, whenever she went to her family in St. Peter, Boscobel, she always came home with a big basket of goodies.
Yes.
You know, potatoes.
Country culture.
That was the country culture.
You couldn't go to the country unless you came home with something.
That's right.
So my garden is, I'm dedicating my garden to my mother, Kathy's garden, and it's going to be dedicated on the 3rd of June, the anniversary of her passing. But I will certainly invite you and Lionel, you and Marie-Stella to come and see, and you know, I'm going to be happy to introduce you to my garden. Oh, but of course, being a cook, well, not a cook, I'm not a professional cook, but I love to cook, and of course, I have to have my herbs. So I have the basil, the green, red, and green and red leaf basil, the celery, cilantro, garlic, ginger, thyme, turmeric, mint, all those things I have. So these are things that I have been working on. Beautiful. And of course, I'm trying my hand now at mulberry in terms of fruit trees and blackberries.
Wow.
And I have some strawberries. And one of the things that I'm waiting like a proud grandmother is my pineapple plants. I can't wait until they start to bear. Yeah, but they're getting so big. I can just see any minute now. I'm gonna start to see like an expectant grandmother. Any
Yes.
minute now, I'm looking to see that birth of a new fruit coming true.
Oh,
And any issue with
beautiful.
monkeys, Dr. Donald?
Monkeys?
Any issue with monkeys?
But listen, let me knock on wood fast because you bring something this so to this day. Listen,
Don't
Lionel,
mention it. Don't mention it.
Lionel,
Yes.
listen, Lionel, don't bring the monkeys. But anyhow, we have a surprise for Dr. Donna, and I hope she likes it. Okay?
okay.
Doom doom do do doom doom do 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 doom doom do doom doom da do da doom doom do da doom doom do da doom doom do da doom. Oh, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Oh, happy birthday. Oh, happy birthday to you. Ooh, do do doom. Doom da do da do do da do da do da do da do da do da doom doom do da doom doom do da doom doom do da doom. Oh, may the good Lord bless you. May the good Lord bless you. Oh, happy birthday. Oh, happy birthday to you. Ooh, doo doo doo. Well, that, Dr.
Woo!
Donna, is my beautiful daughter, Haley, and she reinvented that song.
Oh, hi
She
Haley.
reinvented that song on her own. And we would just listen to music together. And she just sat down and said, Mommy, we could sing this. She was actually singing the original. And
Wow.
because we sing happy birthdays for friends and family, she's just switched it up. And that's what we do for anyone, for people we appreciate, love, etc. So, and she is a product of Bay Primary School.
Yes. Great, great.
I told her you were my teacher way back when. So that's why we still look young.
Yeah, and is she a Mayborn too? She's a Mayborn as well?
She's the fourth.
Right. She's a
Just
day after my husband.
she's 20 days before you, but you're
Yes.
20 days ahead of her.
Thank you, Haley.
You're welcome.
So I hope you enjoyed it. We kept you here for an extra 52 minutes. Oh my goodness. And we are sure, Audrey, your aunt is saying that was good to sing that happy birthday song. Yes, we wanted that to be your special day. And what we want to do also, or we do it for everyone, we want to thank you. We want to ask God to continue to bless you. Your journey is not finished. You have so much more to give us. And we know that whatever you do, you will accomplish them positively. And we always want to note, keeping it real with Mary and Lionel are about bringing forth our true Barbadians who have contributed and been of service to Barbados. And we thank you, Dr. Donna Hunt Cox, for all that you have done from your teaching career. You have continued on that path, and we hope and pray that whatever you do, it is continuous. We pray as well that your star, your star will shine just as bright as the others up there. When you look up on evenings, you will see your star. And we know that there's more coming from Donna Hunt Cox, not Doctor, but Donna Hunt Cox. And on behalf of our followers, Lionel, you are our very own star. Thank you. Lionel, your mic is off, Lionel.
Um, First rule to speak. I want to thank you very much, Dr. Hannah Cox, for allowing us to get a glimpse of who you are and to
Yes.
share those special moments with us. You have done us proud, and I'm really happy as a Barbadian to be proud to know that you have done so much for Barbados. Um, well, all folks, thank you all for visiting us. Thank you all for viewing us, and I'm very sure you would have appreciated what the show offer. So visit us on our Facebook page and like our page. You can also visit us on YouTube and subscribe to our show. Like the page, click on the notification bell, and to be notified about our next show. We have a next special guest coming, but I'll let Marie inform you as to who that person will be.
And that will be our own Sharon Carew White. We're keeping it cultural, Dr. Donna. Sharon
That's my girl.
Carew
She's also
White.
Mayborn.
I
She's
know
also Mayborn.
she was the 13th.
Yes, like my
And
daughter.
she will be on the show with us next week, Monday. We are going to be touching on her journey, even as far as becoming the marketing manager of C.O. Williams Construction and other companies, as well as the fact that she's one out of 5 females who manage a Calypso tent, which we all know as House of Soca. So, folks, remember 9 a.m. Monday, the 31st of May. And we always remind folks, wear your mask, sanitize, social distance. Thank you, folks, for visiting, and we hope that you have a beautiful week. And we continue to wish Dr. Donna a wonderful birthday
Cheers.
continuously. Yeah, let me get my glass. Cheers.
Cheers.